Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to today's video. My name is Asmita, your IELTS mentor here at Vedantu, and today I am here to answer one of the most difficult questions that has perplexed and puzzled philosophers for millennia. They've spent years and years meditating, contemplating, trying to find the answer to this. No, I'm not talking about whether or not God exists. No, I'm not talking about how it all began. Why are we here on planet Earth? I am talking about, ma'am, how do I increase my reading speed? Yes, I know, a little drama there for your entertainment, but this is still a very important question that a lot of students keep asking and obviously struggle with. English is not your first language and you struggle reading it, and if you are not comfortable with a particular language, obviously you're going to take longer with it because that association, that familiarity with the letters, with the vocabulary is just not there yet. But that shouldn't mean that you are going to suffer in the IELTS. If you can't read that fast, if you struggle a bit with reading in English, that doesn't mean you cannot get a band 8 or 9 in IELTS reading. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. So stay tuned with me. Not only I'm going to give you the reason why you're struggling, I'm going to tell you how you're going to work on your speed. Then we are going to practice everything that we have learned in the session with 2 passages. They are not full-length passages and we're only going to answer 10 questions in totality, but it's going to give you a fair idea of how you need to apply the strategies that I am about to give you. Before we get started, here's something very important for you. If you, my friend, are serious about studying abroad, if you want to make something of your future and you just really need the right guidance, the right direction, but find it to be very expensive when you reach out to certain career counselors offline around you or online, they're charging hefty fees, hefty amounts, and you just don't know whether to trust them or think it's worth it, then let me tell you, we have free career counseling available for you. All you have to do is fill out the form that you see in the description. The form looks kind of like this. So here it is for your benefit. Please do fill out the form if you truly are serious about studying abroad. You're going to get everything and so much more that people are charging upwards of 50,000 rupees for. You are going to get the right direction, the right strategies, and literally the right checklist for everything that you're supposed to do. You're going to be led to the right platforms, and all of this, yes, Vedantu is giving away for free right now, so make sure you don't miss out on this opportunity. There's a lot of burden on your head anyway, why add another one? All right, moving on with the session. Here is something for you to consider. You have 20 minutes per passage in the reading comprehension section of the IELTS. That gives you on average 1.25 minutes per question. Now, some questions are easier to answer. Maybe you'll take like 20 seconds to answer them. Some questions are rather difficult. You need to keep going back and forth. You go to the passage, you try to figure out the answer, you come back to the question. All in all, there's just a lot of time pressure throughout the IELTS reading comprehension. Sometimes you zone out while reading and miss out on the point of the passage. Other times you are just confused because the question is meant to be that confusing. And if you get stuck, if you are in a loop, or if you are just unable to concentrate or get nervous and anxious, then you keep losing out on time. If you had the entire day to attempt the reading comprehension section, I'm sure all of you could get a band 9. The problem, and the only problem here, is the time limit, the time constraint. And the point of that is to test whether you can comprehend things on the go fast, because you need to keep pace with international students from all over the world. Many of them are from English-speaking countries and have had world-class education in English, so they don't struggle the way you might. And if you want to keep up with them, then this is something you need to work on, and that's all that the IELTS is trying to assess. Now, with this information in mind, now that we know, have you seen people preparing for battles, especially in old movies? Maybe they're all in a tent and they have this like wooden setup in front of them, and they have these pawns that they place all over the place. That kind of work that's put into something before it actually happens, the strategizing, that's what we are doing right now. We're figuring out what our sort of weak points are, and we are trying to make up for them by being very well versed with the actual test. And we are looking, I wouldn't call it manipulating, but we are technically looking for loopholes to make sure that even if our reading comprehension speed is not at par with others, that still doesn't hold us back when it comes to the IELTS, because we promise ourselves that we're going to work on our English, we're going to work on our reading comprehension in general, but right now, for the purpose of the IELTS, I'm going to give you some sort of a shortcut that you can use to your advantage, alright? So now, you need to know that IELTS reading is expecting basically three things, or these three skills from you, right? Which is skimming, scanning. Both of these I've spoken about in detail. So you can watch the other video as well where I'm talking about these two strategies. But there are also moments of close reading. So you can't solely depend on skimming and scanning. Close reading also comes into the play for a few questions, right? So here skimming is all about looking at the big picture, the overview, sort of the purpose of the passage, right? And this can be understood simply by going through the title, the intro and the conclusion without getting into the nitty-gritties or the details of it, right? इसको हम हिंदी में बोल सकते हैं मोटा मोटा पता करना किसी चीज को. Now the next thing is scanning. Scanning is specifically for information, or let me put it this way, it is for specific information, okay? So if you're looking for a name, you sort of give this command to your brain that only look for names. So your brain kind of like a machine, because all machines are actually inspired by the human body. So your brain, again like a machine, will scan just for names, because your brain already has an idea of what names look like. Similarly, if you tell your brain, hey, look for numbers, it's going to look for numbers. Tell it to look for dates, it will look for dates. And this is the basics of scanning, which you need to do to answer very factual questions, okay? Next, we have close reading. Now, this close reading is actually the only part of reading comprehension that tests true comprehension, whether or not you have understood something. And it also tests something called inference, which means that there are a lot of things that are explicitly said that we understand from a text, but there are also some things that are unsaid. And through those unsaid things also we are able to gather certain information, make certain assumptions, and all of that is called inference. So close reading is testing our comprehension and our inference skills, and these are for detailed questions like true, false or not given. And specifically true, false, not given, yes, no, not given questions can be confusing because we are always not sure between false and not given. We have to be 100% sure that the opposite of something is said for it to be false. Any other implication is a not given, all right, or any other fact is a not given, okay? So here's where close reading comes into play. These three skills we need to develop, and you will say, but okay, you said you're going to give me a shortcut, and here you're telling me that we need to know all these three skills. Don't worry, we are going to pick and choose which skill to apply for which kind of question, and it's going to become easy. So just because close reading is required doesn't mean you have to closely read the entire passage, all right? You can only closely read once you have a question that expects close reading from you, and that's how you're going to save time, all right? Now, why do candidates run out of time generally in the IELTS speaking bit? Number one, topmost reason is reading everything word for word. You want the deepest understanding, and that's a very good way to read when you're reading to understand, when you're reading to learn. For example, when you're reading your textbook to understand a concept, yes, this is how you should be reading. In fact, you should be reading, rereading, revising also. But that's not something you can do in a timed test. So a big no is to read everything word for word. Please, I keep adding this disclaimer, huge disclaimer, that this is not something you should apply to all reading. Not at all. This is not how to attempt reading in general. This is only for reading comprehension in a timed atmosphere like a test, a competitive exam. All right? So don't read everything word for word. If there is a word you don't understand, move past it, ignore it, leave it. Don't get held up over there. Don't try to, first of all, don't panic if you don't know the meaning of a certain word. A lot of people don't know meanings Even very advanced English speakers might not know the exact meaning of a certain word. So don't worry about that, all right? Don't get stuck on hard vocabulary. Move past it, move on to the next sentence, and through context, you will be able to understand exactly what is being said, okay? So it's like you are trying to understand the face of a person. Okay, very scary person I'm drawing. You're trying to understand the face of a person just through, zooming. Let's see if we can zoom. Just by zooming into the nose. Just by zooming into the nose, you're not gonna understand whose face it is, right? You might, if you know the person really well, but generally that's not going to work. You need to look at the big picture. You need to look at the entire face together. And that's how it is with vocabulary. If you get stuck on a vocabulary word, it's sort of like you are just focusing on the nose or on the ear or on an eyebrow, when after you read the entire passage, which is the entire face, you will understand it anyway, okay? Next is not knowing question type, not being aware of what the different questions expect from you. Now, I've made a detailed video on this as well, where I take you through each and every question type. In fact, we answer each and every question type, and that is a very good starting point for you to understand what kind of questions come in the reading comprehension section. If you know the questions, you know who you're fighting with, the battle analogy that I gave you. If you know who your enemies are, then you know their strengths and their weaknesses, and you can work accordingly. So knowing your question types is like knowing your enemy. You know this person is a good swordsman, this person is a good rider, this person is very intelligent, okay? So you know the strengths, and you also might know the weaknesses. This person maybe drinks too much alcohol. So you know the weaknesses of these people as well, and you can work accordingly. That's how you need to work with different question types. So here's a skim, scan, locate, answer method. We can call it the SSLA, skim, scan, locate, answer, okay? And SSLA sounds like, I don't know, UCLA, it's the name of a university. But you can remember this as a method that you can apply in the reading comprehension. So you have to skim the passage first. The first thing is your general introduction and familiarity with the material at hand. That can happen through skimming. This should not take more than 2 minutes. You don't have to understand everything. You just need to know the topic and you need to know the tone, because you are all going to study abroad. So the tone is going to be academic, informative, I would say even objective. It's never going to be very opinion based. So you can expect these kinds of tones, right? You can, if it's about a scientific phenomenon, then it will be obviously very informative. If it's about the history of a place or the biography of a person, it's going to be objective. It's going to tell you the good parts and the bad parts also, right? So the tone generally is going to remain that way. You need to familiarize yourself with the topic. Next is you need to go through the questions first. Now, I won't say go through each question one by one. If you can, go skim the questions as well, all right, and have an overview, an overall idea of what you are dealing with. If there are keywords in the question, take a mental note of those keywords as well. Then you can do a keyword match, right? A keyword match, same keywords in the passage, and once you are done matching everything, you will know, first of all, which question needs to be answered or which answer is in which paragraph. So which question you need to go to which paragraph for. Okay, I'm not able to form a sentence around this, but you get what I'm saying. You can make your question and passage pair, because one reading comprehension passage is going to have 5 to 6 paragraphs. So you'll know, okay, question 1 is paragraph 4. Question 2 is paragraph 3. Sort of like that, all right? Once you have a fair idea of this, then going back and forth will also become easy. And once you've matched the meanings and everything, then you can answer the question. This is your very simple, basic strategy of how you're going to go about this section. Now, here are these question types, and there are just some tips on how you're going to attempt each question type. So, for example, the true false not given has one idea per sentence. You know in which paragraph that idea has been spoken about. You need to be very sure if the statement given to you has been stated or the opposite of it has been stated. You have to know. Watch for traps like always or never, right? Because always and never are very certain. Like if I'm saying she's always late, that means 100% of the times she's late. Now when I'm saying it like this, obviously I mean it as an exaggeration, as a commentary on her general tendency. But in an academic passage, words like always mean 100% all the time. Words like never mean 100% never. These words cannot mean sometimes, right? So look out for words like these that take you either 100% to this side or 100% to the other side. And if that statement has not been made, if it says that sometimes she is late or 1 or 2 times she was late, that means it's not always, it's not never, so it is not given. Okay? So next we have MCQ, which is eliminating distractors. That's the number one strategy you need to do here. MCQs, never try to find the correct answer. Instead, always trying to find the incorrect answer or find reasons for the other options being incorrect. So your approach here should be, why is this question, why is this wrong? Look at each option, ask yourself, why is this wrong? And if you cannot find a reason for it to be wrong, that means that is your correct option. MCQs, the biggest strength of MCQs is having confusing distractors, okay? So know this about MCQs. They will have purposely put confusing distractors over there. Make sure you're able to eliminate them. Process of elimination is your friend when it comes to MCQs. Next is matching headings. Here, make sure that you're matching the general, that is the overall idea of the passage. Sometimes in matching headings, one aspect, maybe you have a paragraph that talks about a person, a famous person's marriage, their first job, and their first child, okay? So maybe it's a famous scientist and this paragraph talks about their marriage, their first job, and their first child. Now here, if the heading is just about when they got married, that cannot apply to this paragraph, because this paragraph also has important information about their first job and their first child, right? So don't match keywords, match the overall idea. The heading for this needs to incorporate everything. So it can be something like early years, right? Early professional years or something like that, because that encapsulates everything that was going on at their life at this point, in their life at this point in time, all right? Next, you have sentence completion. For this, grammar clues will always help. Predict what the answer is going to be. Grammar clues will help just how the sentence is framed, right? So you know that you need to fill out a noun here, you need to fill out a verb here, something like that, and then try to predict the answer and go cross-check in the passage, okay? Next, summary completion. Again, look at the structure of the passage for summary completion and then figure out what your answer should be. Here also, prediction is your friend. First predict, then validate your prediction by checking the passage. And finally, matching names to ideas. Here, scan for names and underline opinions. So throughout the passage when you're reading, as soon as you find a name and there is something attributed to the name, it could be a recognition, it could be an award. If it's about a specific person, then it could be the relationship of the main person with this person that is mentioned. So something associated with that name will always be there. Maybe they gave a very significant remark on a particular topic. Maybe they brought about a very significant development. Whatever it is, whatever is associated with that name, make sure you're underlining it and marking it so that it helps you match names to ideas later on when you're answering questions. All right. So now let's apply these strategies to different questions through 2 passages. The passage is only going to be this long for the purpose of this lesson, so don't worry. The first one is the bioluminescent bay. Now here we are going to skim it first, then go to the questions, then come back where necessary. All right, so I'm going to tell you how to skim. Coast, Puerto Rico, phenomenon, Mosquito Bay, ability to glow at night due to bioluminescent organisms, dinoflagellates, When disturbed by movement, it might emit a bluish light. Okay. Natural light attract tourists from all over the world. However, increased boat traffic and pollution has raised concerns. Always look out for transition words. Whenever however is written, that means something opposite is going to be said. There's going to be a shift in tone, shift in narrative. While local authorities have introduced measures to limit the number of visitors and regulate watercraft, the long-term effects remain uncertain. Despite these concerns, scientists continue to study the bay as a model of sustainable ecotourism. Oops, color changed. And environmental resilience. Alright, so now we have the basic idea. What is the basic idea of this passage? It's about this place called Mosquito Bay. Right? Here, what have they mentioned? That it glows because of the presence of dinoflagellates, and there is a concern with tourism and the ecology of this particular place and how tourism is impacting it. Okay, this is the general idea. Now we have a general overview of what this passage is. All right, now we'll go here and we'll see the first question. First question is a true, false, not given. That means we need to go back and do some close reading. Now here this says the bay glows at night because of naturally occurring light bulbs. So here it says the bay glows at night. Why? Naturally occurring light bulbs. So what we remember from our reading is that yes, it does glow because of bioluminescent dinoflagellates. This is the information that is definitely given in the passage. Now let's go back and see if there's anything about naturally occurring light bulbs. Okay, it glows at night, so that has been confirmed. Bioluminescent organisms called dinoflagellates, right? So when these are disturbed by movement, these microscopic organisms emit a bluish light. So now quickly answer, what should it be? Should it be true, false, or not given? Does this information, is it corroborated by what we just read? True, false, or not given? Once you have answered, I will need all of you to answer in the comments, all right? Okay, so now we know that it's not going to be true for sure, and the reason why it's not true is because this does not happen due to light bulbs. It happens due to bioluminescent dinoflagellates, which are microscopic organisms. So here, will we go with false or not given? Now here the information provided to us in this sentence is the opposite or does not match with the information that is given, right? So we can't say it's not given because we know why the bay glows. Because it's written here, we know the reason, and the reason is not naturally occurring light bulbs. The reason is dinoflagellates. So obviously the answer here is going to be false. False is our answer. Next question. What causes the glowing effect in Mosquito Bay? Why does Mosquito Bay glow? Without looking at the option, we know that it's because of the bluish light that the dinoflagellates emit from their body because they are bioluminescent. So chemical waste in water, no. Moonlight reflecting on the surface, no. Dinoflagellates reacting to movement, seems like yes. Algae absorbing solar energy, no. So rest of them are definitely wrong. This is true, but let's confirm if movement is also a part of this. Just to be 100% sure, we will go back and we will make sure that movement was also a reason, right? So here, when disturbed by movement, yes. So now we can be 100% certain that our correct answer is C. All right. Quickly answer the next question for me. I'm giving you like a minute. Actually 30 seconds. Choose 2 challenges faced by Mosquito Bay. How will you answer this question? Overfishing, tourist-related pollution, invasive species, increased boat activity, hurricanes. Now what we remember, what do we remember from the passage? Always first try to see what you remember and then go confirm. So we know it was due to tourism and human activity, right? So that means that it can't, this is a human activity, this is a human activity, this is not a human activity, this is not a human activity. So C and E we can eliminate based on that. Now let's see if out of all of these human activities was overfishing mentioned, was tourist related pollution mentioned, and was increased boat activity mentioned. So now that we are going back, alright, this is after however. Now because we highlighted however, we can be sure that all of this information is coming to us after however, alright. So here we have increased boat traffic, pollution have raised concerns. So there is no mention of fishing, alright, no mention of fishing. That means we can get rid of this and our answer is B and D, okay. Next question, complete the sentence. Local authorities have taken steps to what? Now we know we have to predict. What do we have to do in completion sentences? Predict. Another thing we need to always be careful about is not exceeding the word limit. So if it says no more than 3 words, that means no more than 3 words. You write more than 3 words, you will lose marks. Okay. Now here it says local authorities have taken steps to, and we know it has something to do with tourism, manage tourism and manage the people there. So now let's go and see exactly what local authorities have done. Limit the number of visitors, right? Limit number of visitors, regulate water activity. Okay, so here 2 things that they've done is to limit the number of visitors and regulate water activity. Now all of this is exceeding how many words? 3 words. Limit the number of tourists, decrease activity. So how are you going to make sure that you have the exact word limit and get the answer right as well? How are you going to make sure you do that? Quickly give me the answer. Now it says no more than 3 words. So there are different options that we can go with. We can say steps to limit tourists, steps to limit visitors, regulate tourism. It also said regulate water activity. That was a part of the sentence as well. Watercraft activity. So that's also an answer we can write here. Alright, so any of this works and is under the word limit over here. Okay. And finally, the bay is considered by researchers to be a model of what? Now this has been exactly provided in the passage. Marine biodiversity, natural disaster recovery, artificial tourism development, all 3 of these are not the point of our overall passage. The overall point was how tourism was affecting this place, but the passage clearly said, the passage clearly mentioned, scientists continue to study the bay as a model for sustainable ecotourism, right? So it's still a model for sustainable ecotourism because despite everything, it is still thriving. The natural ecosystem of the place is still unimpacted it hasn't been impacted at the same level as most other places are. So because it's a model for, the exact words here were, the exact words in the passage were sustainable ecotourism, and that matches with environmental sustainability, right? There is no mention of natural disasters, not marine biodiversity. We only spoke about dinoflagellates, and there's no artificial tourism that's mentioned here. That's not the point of the passage. So this was a question that tests the overall understanding of the passage, and we have answered it. Now let's move on to the next one. And here again, skim the passage, skim the questions as well. If you need to go back to find the answer, to close read, then go back and close read. From MCQs, eliminate. For summary, predict first. For all the answers, try to remember what you can recollect from the passage and only then go back to the passage, all right? Okay, so psychology of procrastination. Procrastination, often dismissed as laziness, is now recognized by psychologists as a complex behavioral issue. Research suggests it stems not from poor time management, from emotional regulation difficulties. Individuals tend to delay tasks that trigger anxiety, fear of failure, or low self-esteem. Ironically, this delay often leads to heightened stress and poor performances, creating a negative feedback loop. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, has shown promise in helping people break this cycle by addressing underlying thought patterns. However, critics argue that societal pressure to always be productive, blurring the line between procrastination and simple. Okay. So here the overall theme of this is procrastination as a disorder and not laziness. So how to deal with it as a disorder, find out the reasons why it happens, and suggest therapies and ways to combat procrastination. And it is happening because of difficulty regulating your emotions. All right, first question. Procrastination is primarily caused by lack of planning skills. Now here, now we have to do a little bit of close reading. The first thing it says is that it stems not from poor time management. So it clearly says that it is not from poor time management. So it cannot be a lack of planning skills. That means this sentence is the exact opposite of what is said or claimed in the passage, which makes this false. Next, according to the passage, which of the following is a consequence of procrastination? Let's see. Consequence of procrastination, right? So as a result of procrastination, do you have increased motivation? No, in fact, you get more demotivated. Do you have improved time awareness? No. Do you have reduced stress? No, there's an increase in stress. Do you have lower performance? Yes, poorer performance was mentioned in the passage, right? So here D is our correct answer, and we don't even need to go back to check this because we are pretty sure of this, right? Next, what therapeutic method is mentioned as helpful for procrastination? Now the answer to this we can recollect is CBT, but why? And that is also 3 words, so that is our answer here. But we will go back to confirm the spelling and just make sure we are correct. So don't get spellings wrong, especially for words given in the passage. Cognitive behavioral therapy. And there is a difference in the spelling of behavior in American and British English. Is there? If yes, then what are you going to do? You're going to go back to the passage and always make sure that you're sticking to the spelling that is given over here. All right? The author implies that rest should be eliminated. All procrastination is harmful. Productivity culture might exaggerate the problem. CBT is the only valid treatment. Now we need to be very sure of what the implication of the author is. What does it mean by what? This is a higher order question. This is a little difficult, so you really need to think about it. What did the author imply? Now we know that the author, from the tone of the entire passage, is being sympathetic towards people who have procrastination issues. So the author is clearly saying that there might be a deeper problem with procrastination, and dismissing it as laziness is not a solution. We need to study it better and we need to help people overcome this. Now here, what does the author state or imply? Now you need to first understand the difference between making a statement and an implication. Now a statement is what is directly said. It will be directly said and you will find it written in the same way, perhaps with synonyms, right? An implication is what they are, the message that the author is trying to give, and it might not be directly said. This is up to your understanding. All right, that's the difference between a statement and an implication. Now we need to go back and see that did once the author say that they should not rest? Rest should be eliminated. Is that mentioned anywhere? No, it does not say rest should be eliminated. Does it ever say all procrastination is harmful? No, in fact, they are sympathetic towards procrastination. Does it ever say productivity culture might exaggerate the problem? Pressure to always be productive may pathologize normal behavior, blurring the line between procrastination and simple rest. So yes, it does say that the culture to always be productive, do as much as you can in a day, can exacerbate or change procrastination into actually a disease or a disorder. And does it say CBT is the only valid treatment? No, it says it has shown promise in helping people, but it's not saying that the only way to cure procrastination is CBT, right? Only word is not used. So here there was a trap. Because of the word only, eliminate this. All procrastination is harmful? No. Rest should be eliminated? No. Now, another thing you can observe here, that in this option, the word might is used. So strong words like eliminate, all, only, right? The extreme, that's taking you to an extreme of either end, always, never, okay? These words indicate that the option might be incorrect and might be there to confuse you. Now here the use of might says productivity culture might exaggerate the problem. This has been clearly stated in the passage that the pressure to always be productive is increasing the problem of procrastination. So here this is our correct answer, and also the use of word might here doesn't add any kind of strong statement over here that we cannot substantiate through the passage, right? So this was a very good question that tests your close reading or deeper understanding of the passage. Next we have, which of the following is not a reason for procrastination mentioned in the text? So a lot of reasons were mentioned. All we can do is simply go back and confirm what the reasons were. Oh, went to the wrong passage. Here we are. Emotional regulation, anxiety, fear of failure, low self-esteem, right? So boredom is the one that wasn't stated out of all of them, right? Low self-worth and esteem, same thing. Always look out for synonyms. So this was there. This was there. Anxiety was written, fear of failure was written. So boredom is our correct answer here. All right. So that was like an actual presentation of how you need to do the skimming and scanning and answering in your actual test. Please, whenever you are taking mock tests, make sure they are timed. Make sure you take them in one go so you have that 60-minute slot all to yourself, distraction free. Let everybody in your house know that you cannot be disturbed for the next 60 minutes. No bathroom breaks, no getting up and going anywhere. Sitting and doing the entire test in a timed manner is the only way that you can actually apply these techniques and benefit from them. Alright, that brings me to the end of today's session. If you found it helpful, make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that more such sessions can reach you easily. Do let your friends know as well, because अपने आप थोड़ी रखते हैं सारी अच्छी चीज़ें, बांट के खुशी और बढ़ती है. And don't forget to follow us on our socials so you don't miss out on updates. Make sure you're filling out that form if you're serious about studying abroad. I will see you again next time. Till then, take care.